Welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast, brought to you by the All About Pigeons nonprofit organization, which is dedicated to promoting education and promotion of the pigeon hobby. Every week, a listener requests to drive our conversations about all things pigeons. Join me, Philip Fry, as we learn and share stories about these incredible birds and this ancient hobby. Today, we're going to be talking about the show-type homers with Jimmy Goetz. Jimmy is a member of the National Pigeon Association, the NBRC, the National Birmingham Roller Club, and also the Show Homers of the World Club. He is a lifelong pigeon fancier and a longtime breeder of the show type homers. So we're going to get into that breed today. And thanks for coming on and talking with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So you kind of had your hand in rollers and racers and everything else. How did you come across the show type homers and get working with that breed?
Well, it started raising pigeons when I was a kid, 5, 6 years old. Had a lot of breeds, rollers, show rollers. I was in show rollers for a long time. Kind of lost interest in the show rollers. I started hanging out at the National Young Bird Show in Louisville, looking for another breed. Was always interested in the show type racing homers. I would go down and speak with the guys that was there, the guys that were already breeding the show type homer. I kind of hit it off with those guys really well. Very nice group of people, very helpful. Honestly, the thing that really drew me in was the people as much as the pigeon. But, now the pigeon is an awesome pigeon. From my show roller days, we like to handle pigeons in your hand, and the show type racing homer is the ultimate pigeon to handle. I've had a lot of breeds, Modinas, fantails, show rollers, show type homers, old German owls. If you like to handle pigeons, this is the pigeon that it really stands out in your hand. Good muscle, good structure, keels, vents, backs. Everything just flows real well. So that's kind of what attracted me to the breed originally.
Okay, so you're saying it's like a lot of the physical attributes that when you're actually feeling the bird in your hand.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of what bird is judged on is structure. So a lot of the judgment of the bird is in the hand. That's part of it.
So let's talk about what goes into making this breed and what the history is of that breed.
Okay. Well, the history, the bird's been around a lot longer than I've been in it. So I'm not an expert in the origin. I do know this, it originated from a race bird. It is supposed to be a beautiful racing pigeon. That's the idea. As fanciers obtained race birds from Europe, as far back as the 1950s and 60s, there were some guys over there, I think, and from what I've read and talking to other guys, that there were lofts known as Green Shields, Parkers, and Griffiths that were race pigeons. And, somewhere along the line, they started having race pigeon shows. And, as time went on, some of the prettier race pigeons were taken a liking to, I guess, by the fanciers in Europe. And then, as the guys in America were able to import those pigeons, those prettier race pigeons kind of caught on here. And so that's kind of how it got started. There is a book that I would mention. It was written by Doug McClary years ago. It's called The Show Racer. It's kind of out of print, but you can get on eBay and look it up. It's a hardback book, and it's just a really good, gives a more of a history. But if you look at the pigeon today, it hasn't changed a lot compared to, like a lot of breeds, they evolve over time. And the show type homer, you can look back at pictures of champion show type homers from the 1970s, and they really look a lot like the birds of today for the most part. So that's kind of a brief history. Like I said, they're supposed to be a beautiful racing homer. Sometimes today's birds might be a little more showier, a little more flashier. We bred really good color into the breed. We call it powder or a frosty gene for a lack of really knowing what it is. I think it's what attracts new breeders, like at the National Young Bird Show or the NPA show. When there's other pigeon fanciers there, they'll walk through our section and they'll look at our pigeons, and the first thing they want to know is how do we make them that color. And we also show them under fluorescent lights while they're being judged, and they almost glow in the dark.
So they are coming out of this racing stock. Are they still a flying breed? Do some of the breeders still fly these?
I don't personally know anyone that flies them today. Most of the guys that are real competitive, they don't fly them.
Yeah, yeah, that'll definitely hurt some of the feather quality and other features for
Yes.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah, condition is a lot. I mean, to win a big show, bird has to be really good condition.
right.
That the feathers almost have to look like they're painted on or ceramic looking.
So you mentioned the different colors that you guys are able to get
Yeah.
into these. And so it's supposed to, like you're saying, the history was out of a beautiful racing Homer. What other features were kind of bred for and exaggerated on out of that racing Homer that you see that when you recognize that's a show type Homer?
So my experience, I used to race as well. I raced 5 or 6 years, handled a lot of race pigeons. The difference is the body structure on these pigeons is a lot more uniform. Long keels, good tight vent bones, and the keel should run real close, as close to the keel or vent bones as you can get. The bird is now it's muscled up. It should have a real strong back, and when you're handling the pigeon in your hand, the back will reflect strength. The tail attachment. When we was kids, we called it a one pin tail. That tail should flow out from the underneath side of the pigeon, and the rump. The tail connection should be really smooth, and it should almost like come down to a triangle. So the keels, the vents, that's probably the toughest part of the breed, making them consistent in across your whole loft. But when you get one in your hand that feels right, you'll know it immediately. Versus some of the race pigeons back in the day, they were short keeled, so they had a pocket between the end of the keel bone and the vents. Like
All right.
you could almost put two fingers in there.
Yeah.
The show type homer, that's not really desirable. One of the things that I really breed for in my loft is good leg angle. To me, it just makes the overall appearance of the pigeon a lot more attractive. The leg should set at a 45-degree angle to the back. The back should also be at a 45. The normal race pigeons today, guys are just breeding for speed. So that, they don't really care about the legs or the keels or the vents, rightfully so. That's kind of in the hand. And then, so I'll just tell you a little bit about how we judge. We'll put a whole class of pigeons on the back wall of the show area or the judging area. We call that the back bar. The judge will handle each pigeon, and he in between him and where the people are watching, we call that the gallery. He'll bring the best specimens that he handles to the front table. It's a walking pen under fluorescent lights. And at that point, of the best specimens in the hand comes into play other things such as station, legs, the outer shell, how smooth that pigeon is, no creases in the neck, Their eyes, their wattles should be fine, not really rough. The wattle. It should just it should be an eye catcher to the judge. And color does play some role in it. It's not the most important thing, but if you see a beautiful one, it's just hard to quit looking at it.
Can you give us a breakdown of the point value for the breed on this?
Well, honestly, there's not really an adopted standard for points. Now, there's some old ones that's been kicked around over time. And so here, I kind of came in 12 years ago, not understanding, and I was really confused about that. So, by not creating a written standard, the bird doesn't change based on fads. I've shown other breeds of pigeons, and when a fad hits, then the group of people, the fanciers, might develop a new standard or amend the standard to reflect that. By not truly having a truly written standard, the pigeon has not really changed. It's still a beautiful racing homer. The proof's kind of in the pudding when you go back and look at the pigeons from the 50s and the 60s and the even that's all through history. They still remain really constant in their type. But the main thing, keels, vents, that's the big, and body, muscle, just the overall appearance of the pigeon. It's not so much, major flaws would be a short keeled pigeon. Yeah, for sure. Creases in the neck, really roughness. It's a conditioned pigeon. And if you look at the pictures from the winters, they really look ceramic. Good leg angles, things such as that.
When it comes to your loft setups, are you having an open loft or do you have it broken up into individual nests?
I have a lot of airflow in my loft. My main loft is 40 foot long. I've got a 38 foot window in it, 3 foot wide in the front with windows in the back. So the main, health is a big key thing in order to get a pigeon conditioned proper, and airflow is it. But I do breed myself in an open loft. Some guys will breed individual breed pens. It's kind of a personal choice. However, I also do a few individual breed pens. There are guys in the breed that do straight individual breed pens. So the breed is very adaptable either way. If a guy wants to breed open loft, that's perfectly fine. If you want to breed individuals, that's fine as well. The breed is very docile in an open loft. There's not a lot of fighting, and that's one of the beauties of the breed. It's very, very docile. And I also have, I condition my young bird team. I'll condition them on V perches in a separate young bird section. A lot of guys will use box perches. So that, the breed can go either way. Whatever kind of loft one guy has, most times it's going to work.
What kind of climate are you in? Are you in a place that gets hotter or colder during the major seasons?
I get a little bit of both. I'm in Western Kentucky. I live right along the Ohio River, so it can be -10 in the winter, and like it's been this week, it's been 106-degree heat index.
Oof.
Yeah, so they are adaptable. They handle either the weather, the hot and the cold. They're a tough breed. They originate from that race pigeon, and I guess that's where they get their toughness.
What kind of flooring do you have in your loft?
I have wood floors. I also have some smaller pens that have wire floors. But the majority of my show team is on wood floor. I practice. I've done everything. I've cleaned and scraped daily. But what I found is, back in the day when I was a kid, the old timers used deep litter system. I don't really use deep litter, but I'll let my litter build up maybe an inch deep as long as it's powder dry. That's the main thing, and I'll use some pine shavings as well. Especially in damp periods in the winter, rainy seasons, just to keep the floor dry. Uh, that's the key. Either way.
So you're saying this is it's a pretty docile breed. So when you go in, let's say you have an open loft setup and you go in there and you got some that might be sitting on eggs, are they gonna take off and fly around or
No, they will sit tight. In fact, one of my best friends, he's a pigeon, he's a roller guy. He comes over, he'll walk in the loft and they'll sit right on the nest box shelf and he'll just reach over and pat them like a bunny rabbit. And he says, I can't believe they're that docile. So they're not real flighty like a race bird. And that's just the beauty of them. I've had pigeons, over 50 years, and it is a great breed. I'm biased, but I'm really partial to the breed.
so how do they perform when it comes to raising their own young?
They do a pretty good job. I don't use any fosters, so they raise their own. Some people have a little bit of trouble early in the year with fertility rates. What I've learned in my 10 or 12 years with the breed is in order to affect fertility rates early on in the year, you basically have to get the weight off the pigeon. They will tend to get heavy on you. They like to eat a lot, and they'll get heavy. And if you take the weight off of them a month prior to breed season, your fertility rates are greatly improved. Like I said, I raise 100, 150 young birds every year out of 25 to 30 pair. So they do a pretty good job. My fertility rate this year was over 80% the first round. And that can't complain about that at all.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So given that, I mean, they seem pretty docile. They breed good. They raise their young. I mean, would you say if someone is just getting into the fancy side of showing birds, would this be a good breed for them, or would this be kind of a mid-level, someone stepping up into a different fancy breed?
Well, I tell you what, we do have several, I'll call them younger people, not younger than myself, in the breed now. Every year, it seems like there's one or two, I call them young bucks, getting involved. But yeah, if a person wants to show pigeons, it is a really good breed to show. Reason being, they feed their babies. You don't have to have foster parents. So that simplifies a lot as far as a new person trying to learn the ins and the outs of the breed. My advice would be just get the weight off of them. Most of us guys in this part of the country and north of me, we won't really mate our pigeons up until mid-February. So, we have a big show in January and maybe the NPA National in late January. And as soon as that's over, we'll start cutting the weight on them, cutting the food back a little bit, and getting them prepared for the breed season.
So are there any common faults that you're seeing when you go to the shows that need to be worked on with this breed overall?
Yeah, as with any breed, I think all fanciers are, we're all trying to get better. When I first started, there was guys in the breed that's been in the breed 40 years, 50 years. And I'll say this, the guys that are in the breed and that I've been associated with, I call them professional pigeon breeders. They're very professional people. They really take good care of their pigeons. But, the common faults that I see a lot are those kills. When you handle those pigeons, the kill length needs to increase, and that pocket between the kill and the vents. We're all working on trying to make that better. And that is a slow process. I see occasionally pigeons with longer legs, but that's kind of my pet peeve personally. It's not attractive to me. But, I mean, on an occasion, you'll see a neck that might be creased, or we call it broken. It might have a little divot in the neck, versus that real smooth ceramic look. And, it's tough to get. We like a dark eye. Back when I started, I had a lot of lighter eyed pigeons, almost yellow, especially on our red based pigeons. The blue based pigeons tended to be darker. So, yeah, I mean, there's always something that we can work towards improving.
That's interesting. So coming out of racing pigeon stock originally, you would have a really large variety of different eye.
Yes.
Does that still kind of come through? So you're saying that you want a darker eye with this. Is there kind of a uniformity to the eye with the show type?
We like them to be, well, some people will call them chestnut eyes, like the darker that eye, really the better. Versus that lighter eye, there's not, I still see an occasional orange eye. And, it's not what we prefer. If there's two pigeons equal coming down to to be champion of the show, and one's got a darker eye versus the lighter eye, the darker eye is probably going to win out versus that lighter eyed pigeon. Everything else being equal. But, I mean, even in the race birds, we had orange eyes, we had gravel eyes, or pearl eyes. I really don't see any pearl eyes or gravel eyes in this breed. Just a few orange-eyed pigeons are left.
So you're a member of the Show Homers of the World, and now that's a national club here in the U.S. for the show types.
Yes, it is. SHOW is what we call it, Show Homers of the World. It's a loose knit club, but it is basically our national club if there was such a thing. We put on several shows. A lot of the shows now are centered in the Midwest part of the country, and the SHOW hosts those shows. We'll host a show at the National Young Bird Show, which is an all breed show. The last 2 years, we've hosted a show or a meet at the NPA National, and it travels. Last year it was in Oklahoma. The year before it was here in Kentucky. This coming year, it's going to be in Oklahoma as well in January of 26. So we think there's going to be a pretty good turnout there this year. For anybody interested, we encourage you to enter, come show with us, or just come hang out with us if you want. If you're interested in the breed, learn about it. Now the breed, not just in the Midwest, but it's growing even out in the western part of the country as well. Last 2 or 3 years, we've gotten a lot of guys that have traveled to the NPA National from the western part of the country that have really taken a liking to the breed. One of the shows this year, I'm going to put a plug in for it, is the Salt Lake Premier Show, November 7th and 8th. So those guys out there are really trying to make a run at, hosting a show type homer meet within that show. I think there's usually 1,800 pigeons there total. So if anybody out there listening goes there or interested in the show type racing homer, you'll probably have a good show there to go hang out and see what you can see with the breed. Man, we always go to the National Young Bird Show in Louisville. as well. And then we have a lot of shows that are just our breed as well. But let me throw out some other all breed shows. Jefferson, Wisconsin is an all breed show. That's Thanksgiving weekend. Bay City, Michigan. That's first weekend of December. That's an all breed show, and we will host there. And there is a show. I think it's called Southern Alabama. I've never been there. Some of the guys down in that area have tried to started to put on a little meet there as well. So it's growing, and that's a good thing.
The show type Homer Club goes and sets up at all these.
Yeah, yes,
Oh,
we do.
okay. Yeah, that's active. That's really good.
Yeah, we're trying. Last year before last in Louisville at the NPA National, we worked with the NPA, so we hosted it, and I think we had right at 300 pigeons entered in that meet.
Wow, that's a good turnout.
Yeah, last year, don't quote me, but I believe they had 150, maybe a few more in Oklahoma City. This year, we're hoping to crack 200, 250 at the NPA National. So, but we draw a lot of interest at those big shows, and we like it. We value having new people interested in the breed.
Is there a website or a Facebook group for the club?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page. It's called Show Type Homers. That's our main. We don't really have a web page anymore, but that Facebook page, Show Type Homers, is our main, I guess, social media platform that we communicate with as well. And if anybody wants to reach out, they can go there. I have a personal pigeon page on Facebook as well. It's Goetz Family Loft, Goetz, show type racing homers and Birmingham rollers. I can steer anybody in the right direction if they have questions about the breed, as well as a lot of other guys. A lot of guys are willing to help.
Yeah, that's the most important part. Like you said, when you got into the breed, it was, people that were willing to help and friendly, and
Oh yeah.
that's a big part of it right there. And I mean, it sounds like your guys' club is really active, going to a lot of these shows and setting up. And so you guys will be at the Grand National this year, or
Yes, we will. Yes. Yeah. I believe that's like the third week of January this year. There will be a SHOW meet there. That's already in the works. And there will be one at Louisville for anybody that's going to the National Young Bird Show in last weekend of October.
excellent. All right. Well, if anybody's interested, these guys are active. They're out and hitting the shows. Go out there and find them at the shows. Check out their Facebook, Show Type Homer's Facebook. He's got his Facebook, Goetz Family Loft. That's Goetz Family Loft. Yeah, get connected with him there if you have any questions. I'm sure he said he'd point you in the right direction. So,
We'd love to have you.
Jimmy, thanks for coming on. This has been great, and thanks for sharing all your information.
Hey, thanks for having me. Look forward to doing it again someday. Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in to another listener-requested episode of the All About Pigeons podcast. We truly appreciate your support. The soundtrack for the show comes from the pigeon musician Vital Mizrahi. If you have a topic or a guest you'd like to hear more about in future episodes, or if you yourself would like to be a guest and just talk pigeons, please don't hesitate to reach out to us through email at allaboutpigeonspodcast@gmail.com, or join our Facebook page, All About Pigeons Podcast, and connect with us there. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you listen. It supports the pigeon hobby and really helps the show. Remember, together the hobby thrives. Support each other and enjoy your pigeons.